My name is Simone and this is my second video. For those of you who haven't seen the first one, that was about me being selected from Emirates to join their flight training academy. My story and what it took for me to be accepted. Also specifically the struggle that I was having to find the money that I needed to join the academy. After my story, I received literally hundreds of messages on my Instagram. Some of you were asking me suggestions and guidance. Others were simply thanking me for being an inspiration for them. So I realized that some of you can take advantages from my story, my approach to things, and both my successes and my mistakes. For those of you who want to know whether I found the money that I needed to join the academy, just stay tuned until the end because I'm going to talk about that. And also I will give some answer to some of your questions. But as the title of the video says, today I want to talk about something that I really care about, and this is the importance of always knowing what to do. First of all, this is very important in relationship with every goal you have in your life. But I think this is really important right now considering the crisis that the world is facing with so many people having issues. If all the things that I'm talking about in this video are useful in general, for those of you who want to become pilots, this is absolutely necessary nowadays. Whatever you choose or you plan in your life, it's so important that you realize that there are two things that are always affecting what you do. Number one is, what are the things that I am in control of? Let's take an example of a soccer player. What are the things that I can control that allow me to do perfectly my job? Eat healthy, not smoking, make exercise, etc., right? But also you need to think, what are the things that I am not in control of? Well, I don't want to be tragic, but for example, you can have an accident, your team may go bankrupt, and you cannot find a new one, etc., right? Obviously, we cannot face everything bad that can happen to us, and if we did that, if we spent a life just thinking about all the things that could go wrong, we would just simply not live. But are we sure when we plan something, we are doing everything it takes for us to succeed, and we are prepared to the different outcomes that can happen? In other words, are we sure that we try to minimize the things that we are not in control of and we try to maximize the things that we are in control of? Think about the aviation industry right now. Imagine you have invested 2 years of your life to become a pilot, you have spent $150,000 or so to reach your goal, and you just came out from school right now. Do you think with this situation you would find a job right now with the world facing this crisis, with airlines struggling to survive, some of them are going bankrupt? Well, what would you do then to pay back your investment? Maybe you have a loan, maybe your family has a loan, or maybe someone else has it for you. And maybe when you asked for the loans years ago, you made your perfect calculation. You thought, I'm going to become a pilot, I'm going to make $3,000 per month, I have this and that, and I'm going to pay back my loan $1,500 per month, and I'm fine. As I said before, what if you just came out from school right now with this pandemic situation? Have you considered the possibility that something could go wrong? If you haven't, guys, let's be honest, you may be fucked. In general, you may be fucked if you took 6 months more to finish your school, or simply if you take 6 months to find a job. Bear in mind, am I suggesting to people not to follow their dreams to become pilots, or not to follow any dreams when they are consuming in terms of time and money spent? Not at all. Does this mean I recommend people to always think better when they plan something, to consider the different outcomes, and specifically to learn how to count only on themselves? Absolutely yes. Whenever you decide something or you are in the middle of a situation, you need to consider that there are always two approaches that you need to follow. The number one is plan. Predict the different outcomes, and we could say that this happens before you plan something. The second one is learn from your current situation, adapt to new things, and we could say that this happens during, when things are happening, or after. Let's talk about the first one. What does plan or predict actually mean? Well, if you want to reach a goal, you need to understand that there are things that can happen to you that you haven't planned. As I said before, we need to understand that there are things that we are in control of and that there are things that we are not in control of. Our goal is to be able to do as much as we can of the things that we are in control of, to try to avoid or prevent the things that we are not in control of. If you are, for example, a physiotherapist and you work with your hands, like millions of other jobs, basically your hands are super important. What if something happens to them and you find yourself with no job? Have you considered that possibility? For example, have you considered the possibility to subscribe for an insurance? When you're making a plan, you need to be aware of the possibilities that are out of your control, and also that the things you plan may not go the way you planned, and what these different outcomes would cause you if they happen. For example, if you calculate to work a whole summer to make $3,000 because you need this $3,000 to, I don't know, pay for something, just be aware that something can happen. That, for example, you may have a speed ticket or you may have the dentist to pay. So obviously the point number one, or I should say the point number zero, because it's fundamental, is don't always trust your math. As I said, be careful with this very tight plan. Don't get me wrong, calculations are absolutely necessary, but you need to consider the possibility that this will have to be corrected. For example, you are asking for 50,000 loans and you will pay it back in 24 months or something like that. Just consider the possibilities that you can have something that may go wrong, and you have to be aware of this possibility. The number one is what I call protecting the continuity of your profession. This is related to the quality of your profession. Whatever you're doing, you need to be consistently improving yourself, no matter where you are. You can be the best, you can be in the best position ever, but if you do not always try to improve, innovate, or simply keep up with what you do, you may end up in a very delicate position if something out of your control happens. Imagine you work for a company and the company goes bankrupt and you need to look for another job, or simply the company needs to cut some job, which is something that is happening at the moment. If you are the best, if you are on top, you are certainly in a position to be more secured, although nothing is guaranteed. Think about the best athletes. They are the best because they worked harder than anyone else throughout their entire career. I mean, this world is measured by how much you're replaceable. That's it. Also, this is related to kind of having an insurance of what you do and deposit some money in your bank. Number two is develop new abilities that make you unique, high demanded. Look for an alternative profession that can always make you highly demanding. Ask yourself, what would I like to do if I could not do my main job? And also you have to ask yourself, what would be able to give me the type of life that I want to live? The thing is, you can be the most successful person at 18, you can have your dream life, you can have reached your goals, but never stop there. Whenever you have the possibility, just learn something new. Learn how to do something. The more things you try, the more you will realize that there are things that you're good in doing, and also that there are things that you enjoy. And more specifically, you will start to understand what really matters for you in your life, which is different for everyone. Also, every new experience you make, everything new that you learn, will make you a more mature person. And this is absolutely fundamental. And this is also related to the people that are writing me at 18 years old, telling me they want to fly and be pilot of an A380 carrying 500 people. Number three is build side businesses. You know, with a little bit of jealousy, I kept this until this point. Because if you got to this point, it means you are someone that is willing to learn something new from other people. At the end of the day, if you are only writing me because you want to know how much is the fee of the Emirates Flight Training Academy, I think this means that you don't fully understand the situation you're currently at, and I think you should stop watching this video. While I think that the first and the second points are really important for your life, I think that nothing guarantees you to be really secure as much as it does having a side business. Our time is limited, and if we have a main profession that takes us hours and hours, our time is even more limited. With a side business, you can find a way to make your money work and delegate some activities to other people. In this way, you can always have some backup activity that keep you safer and also some backup money. This is actually what I worked on during the last months. I will come back on this during future videos. But so far, just know that if you can have the possibility to build a side business where you can bring your ideas and your strategy and you plan something and then you delegate people to work to the business for you, you can have greater chance to be safe if something happens. But how do you identify or build a side business? Well, can you open an activity online, or can you start offering a service as a freelancer, or can you start selling products, or can you open a business offline? You need to have a source of income that is different to your main job. This is a huge topic, and although I think this is the best plan to have, first of all, not everyone is down for that, and secondly, I'm not even sure you care about that. So in case, let me know and I will try to talk about that more in the future. As I said, number one is to be able to plan and predict the different outcomes, to kind of have a better plan A. Number 2 is about developing that ability to always adapting to new things, to be resilient. There is a very famous quote by Stephen Hawking who says, "Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change." And I think this is absolutely the best sentence, and it really captures what I mean by that. Also, I will talk about that in relationship with my experience. Sometimes we want to reach our goals so bad, and if we have an occasion that we think that that's the best occasion we have in our lives, and we think that if we don't get that occasion, we will never have the chance to have this occasion anymore. The reality is that, as I said before, there are things that we are in control of and that there are things that we are not in control of. We can spend days and nights to make something happen. We can spend months to make something work, but sometimes we need to understand that if we really want to reach a goal, we need to adapt to the things that are around us. But first of all, we need to understand what is happening around us. And if possible, we need to take advantage of those things, changing our approach, and eventually make our life better. You need to understand when what you're doing is going to give you results, and actually to be able to do this is the hardest challenge for everyone. Because to mention another famous quote, is not the stronger who survives, is the one that is able to adapt. Last March, after 8 months working super hard as much as I can to find the money that I needed to join the academy, everything was ready. I just needed to find the money. I was working days and nights. I was working as a data scientist, and secondly, I was trying to find the money. The world just crashed. With the lockdown, with the aviation industry on hold, and also with the Emirates Flight Training Academy temporarily closed, I had to realize that I had 2 possibilities. Number 1 was to keep going to ask to people, to strangers mainly, to finance my dream, to give me the money that I need to join the academy, and it was lots of money while many families and people were struggling to even survive. Number 2 was to adapt, to learn from all the sacrifices that I made the previous 7-8 months, to learn that it was time for me to change strategy, and also to learn that if you really want to reach something, you always need to count only on yourself and nobody else. I literally did everything to join the Flight Training Academy, and every time things were on me, every time things were on my control, I absolutely proved myself. Always. I worked harder than anyone else when things were on me by creating the occasion to be accepted for the test, by going to actually make this assessment in the middle of my mastering job while everyone was telling me this was crazy, and I sacrificed my money and my energy and also to succeed in this test, and specifically to work super hard during the previous 7-8 months to find the money that I needed. While I was also working, I was never taking a day off for that. And actually I found some of the money that I needed. But at that point I realized that I could not do anything else to reach this goal. I realized and I knew that the only thing that I could do was to change strategy and to adapt from the circumstance. I adapted. I'm currently working. I developed a couple of side businesses that are giving me a decent amount of money, and who knows, maybe in the future I will be able to again open my doors for the Emirates Flight Training Academy. Because what I realized is that if you really want to achieve something, it's not on other people to give you the money for that. It's not on other people to believe in you. You have to work harder than anyone else to reach your goal. You are the person that needs to believe in what you do, and also you are the person that needs to find the money that you need to reach your goals. Because what you need to understand in relationship with the Emirates Flight Training Academy, and in general with every dream and goal you have, is that if you don't have the money to reach that, it doesn't make any difference. You can have been the best in the test, you can have succeeded, but with no money, it's no difference. Being accepted and not have the money to join the academy is exactly the same as not being accepted at all. So guys, bear this in mind before making any efforts. Anyway, I think this topic was absolutely fundamental. I'm going to try to post new videos in the future and more specific to the question that you asked me. The moment that you realize that every mistake, every time you fail is not actually fail, but is a possibility for you to make experience, well, you are done. Remember this thing. You can either succeed or learn something. The moment you realize this, you are done.